Hello, this is Jennifer Parrish, Superintendent of Poquoson City Public Schools. What I'd like to share with you is a presentation that outlines where we will educate our middle school students while the middle school is going through the modernization project and the actual renovation work is being done. What you see here first is the decision-making process that we used. Principals as well as other division leadership held lengthy discussions to determine the best course of action during the renovation. As part of these discussions, we did quite a bit of research before making our final decisions. As you see here, part of the data that we examined was enrollment data. We know and anticipate that student enrollment will increase in the coming years, so we wanted to account for the fact that we will have more students of middle school age in the 2020-2021 school year when we'd first have to relocate our students if we chose to do so. We also spent time in all of our buildings to determine if we could temporarily make space available for students from other grades. This meant walking through the buildings, looking at all the classrooms and other rooms to see if anything could be repurposed in order to help us. We also created mock-up schedules because we wanted to determine the impact additional grades might have on the master schedule in any building that we might use as part of our planning. We also included in those schedules lunch because we wanted to ensure that we could determine the impact that additional grades might have on the lunch schedule in any of our schools. We also reached out to other school divisions because we wanted to determine whether or not they might have classroom trailers that we could utilize during the renovation work for the middle school. You may wonder what our priorities were for our students while we were doing the renovation work. First of all, you see here, which is always the case, one of our major priorities was student safety. No matter what we do in terms of where we place students during the renovation work, we want to ensure that they're safe. We also wanted to make sure that our middle school students would have access to the same instructional programs that they would have had if they were in the middle school building itself. We wanted to make sure that we didn't increase the costs on our budget for the middle school project by relocating students. And in fact, we wondered if perhaps we could save some money. And finally, we wanted to ensure that we're transparent with the school community so everyone understands the decisions that we make with regard to the project, to include where to have our middle school students during the actual work. So here's what we determined to be our best course of action. We determined that we are going to relocate all of our middle school students during the renovation and construction work, and we want to do so for both safety and instructional reasons, and we also believe that it will expedite the timeline for the actual work that will be done, and our architects and engineers have indicated that that would be the case. Keep in mind that we had anticipate the start date for our student relocation to be in September of 2020. That's when the students would come back into school and need to be relocated. Construction work on the building would likely start during the summer months. When we looked at the primary school, we quickly saw that it just could not house any additional students. We couldn't repurpose any of the classroom space, nor was there any available classroom space to use to bring another grade level into the building. And as many of you probably know, if you've been to the primary school, there just isn't space for trailers on that property. We have very little additional space, and that space is often used for parking for school events as well as for parks and rec events in the field next to it. What we did determine is that the elementary school facility can temporarily house additional students in classrooms, and we can also place trailers on the field that's located in front of that elementary school to house some of our students. Specifically, what we're going to do is house 6th and 7th grade students at the elementary school facility. I will talk more in depth about that in the coming slides. We also determined that we could house temporarily another grade level or some of our students at the high school. We would be able to access classrooms and also place trailers on the property. In fact, 11 years ago, there were trailers on the property at the high school when our enrollment was higher. Let's talk a little bit more specifically now about our plans. First, let's look at 6th grade. Our plan is to house 6th grade primarily in the elementary school facility. We believe that the majority of the 6th grade classes can be housed inside the building and in fact will be located within the current 5th grade pod. They will need to go to the trailers for some specialty classes, and those trailers will be located on the field just in front of the building. You may wonder how we're doing this. We're actually going to have to repurpose some of the classrooms in the elementary school, and we will also have teachers from the elementary school and middle school sharing some classes on a temporary basis. So for example, computer labs will be converted to regular classrooms, and we will bring the technology into the regular classrooms while those labs are being used as regular classrooms. We also have some conference rooms in the building that will be repurposed because they can be used for small group instruction or some specialty instruction. What you see on the next bullet below is that we would envision our elementary school specialists, such as the math specialists, working in smaller classrooms. It could be some of those repurposed conference rooms, or they may move from class to class during the day. The music room and gym will be shared, so our 6th grade students will be able to access those spaces during the course of the day. Also, some special education teachers may share specific classrooms. As for the 7th grade students, they will be housed in the trailers on the front field. They will have access to the elementary school gym for PE, and they will also have access to the elementary music room for band class. In terms of our 6th and 7th grade students, they will be engaged in the same instructional programming that they would have if they were in the middle school building at that time. And remember, that was one of our priorities, was to ensure that those students had access to the same programs they had no matter where the instruction occurs. 6th and 7th grade students will also follow the current middle school schedule. So this means they will not ride on the elementary buses. They instead will ride on a middle school bus run. They will actually start school before the elementary school does and finish school before it ends. This is also what allows us to have some shared classroom space for our teachers. Our 6th and 7th grade students will be able to eat lunch in the PES cafeteria, but they will not eat at the same time as 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders do. As you remember, student safety is also a priority for us. So once the elementary school students come to school, the PES bus loop will be blocked off at either end so students can move freely across the bus loop to get in and out of the building. We will make sure that they are also safely moving amongst the trailers. Now, you may wonder, what about the time when the elementary buses are in the loop? Well, we'll ensure that our middle school students are not changing classes while those buses are in the loop, dropping the elementary students off. And again, the middle school students will leave before the elementary students leave for the end of their school day. We will have staff present to supervise all transitions both in and outside of the building. We will have the middle school SRO office located in a trailer, but the middle school resource officer will be visible in the trailers as well as in the building. You may wonder where we're going to locate our middle school administrators and other support services at PES. The main office for the middle school will be located in a trailer, so if a parent comes to meet with an administrator or to pick up a student, they will actually come to the middle school office out on the field to do so. We'll have middle school administrative and counseling offices also located in the trailers as well as the clinic. So 6th graders in the building, if they're coming to the clinic, will come out to a trailer. The same is true for the media center. We will locate that in the trailer as well. A restroom trailer will be provided for the 7th grade students as well as for faculty and staff, and for 6th grade students when they may be out in the buildings. We are anticipating that we'll have approximately 18 classroom trailers located at the middle school, at the elementary school for the middle school. As for the 8th graders, they will take classes in trailers that are located near a back entrance of the high school, which is exactly where trailers were located at the high school, as I said, about 11 years ago. They will also have access to designated classrooms inside that doorway. It should be noted that 8th graders may merge with freshmen or sophomore for some courses such as foreign language. We can take advantage of the fact that we're offering identical courses to 8th graders and high school students. Also, 8th graders will have access to the high school gym for PE, and they may share the locker room with some of the 9th and 10th graders. Please keep in mind that these are all the same students who spent time together in the middle school. In other words, when these 8th graders were 6th graders, they were sharing space with the 7th and 8th graders, who will then be 9th and 10th graders. 8th graders will follow the high school schedule and ride with high school students. It needs to be noted that more than half of the high school students do not ride the buses, so there'll be plenty of space on the buses for our 8th graders because so many of our students drive to school or bring their friends, or they may have parents that are dropping them off. As you think about what we're doing at the high school, know that we're looking at having about 5 classroom trailers located at the high school temporarily as we renovate the middle school. As for the administrative support services and safety for our high school students, a PMS administrative office and counseling office will be housed at the middle school in a trailer so our 8th graders can access their school counselors as well as the administrators. 8th grade parents will report to the high school main office when entering the building. So if they need to pick a child up, the main office is where they will go, and then those folks in the office will let the student know that their parent is waiting. 8th grade students will also use the high school clinic and the high school media center. We will not have separate ones in the trailer for 8th graders. They will, however, have their own lunch period using the high school cafeteria. And the high school SRO will work with the 8th graders and will be visible in the trailers while they're temporarily located there. We have some additional relocation details that we will need to work out. We know that we'll be able to offer extracurricular activities to our middle school students, but we need to figure out the details, and we'll be sure to share those as soon as we have done so. There won't be any change to 8th grade participation in JV sports, and in fact, for the time that the 8th graders are there, it will make it easier for them because they won't have to catch a bus to the high school for practice or games. It needs to be noted that the middle school football field will be accessible for high school athletics as well as for middle school PE. So 6th and 7th graders who have PE on the elementary property can actually move to the high school field if they'd like to do so. Lockers will likely not be available to middle school students. Instead, we'll provide them with classroom sets of textbooks and online access to all of their materials. This will support our students and teachers. If students do not have online access at home, we will provide them with a set of textbooks for home. Some middle school teachers will travel between the high school and the elementary school. We will ensure that we create a master schedule that gives them the time to do so. The same is true with middle school administrators and counselors, as they will need to move between the 2 campuses to support our middle school students. I mentioned earlier the operational costs and our hope that we would certainly not go beyond the costs that we had budgeted for in the modernization project and perhaps could save some money. We did find that we were able to obtain classroom trailers from local school divisions. They are just surplusing those trailers, so we're able to get them at no cost. There will be a cost in terms of relocating those trailers to our property, and also a cost to setting up the utilities, which will include plumbing for bathroom trailers at the elementary school. Keep in mind, at the high school, the 8th graders will be able to use the bathroom facilities that are in the building. There will also be a cost that will be incurred when we have to dispose of the trailers when the project is complete. We are anticipating that we will see a cost savings by acquiring those trailers, as we had budgeted for rental fees for trailers, and now we will not have to pay those. Any savings we realize by saving money and not having to rent trailers will be applied to the middle school construction budget to help with any additional costs that we may experience there. I hope what you can see through this presentation is that we have thought very carefully about what the best situation will be for our middle school students during the actual renovation. We know that we've met our priorities. Our students will be safe. Our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders will receive all the instructional programming options they would have if they are actually taking classes in the middle school. And we have also found a way to potentially make some cost savings as we've created this plan. As is always the case, if you have any questions or anything you want to share with me, don't hesitate to do it in person, via email, or via phone. And you're also welcome to use the Let's Talk program that we have sitting on our homepage on our website. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation.